Hi there. Just wanted to give you my 2 and 4pence on this coronavirus, this pandemic, COVID-19. I won't become a COVID casualty. Paddy, my husband Paddy, says COVID-19 is made up of corona and virus and 2019. He loves to show off, especially if he senses that anyone present doesn't know for sure. He may be making it all up, hoping I'll make a fool of myself. Paddy? Oh, he went to bed. We had a bit of a row. Simple row over nothing. You know how it is. I suggested a port after dinner. He wanted to give it a skip. How about we miss it for one evening? And then he adds, dear, as if that makes it all okay. I like a port after dinner. Well, lately I do. I used never before this virus pandemic, before COVID. Before COVID BC. Ha! I like that. I'll tell that to Paddy. You're no fun anymore, he says. Before COVID, BC, we used to go out to dinner once a week. Chinese, Indian, pizza, whatever. When lockdown started, we made a pact to make mealtime special. Up to the table, wine, candles, napkins, and music instead of the telly. Lovely, right? This was 2 fingers up to the virus. We used to joke that the wine cost more than the food at the weekly shop. It became clear our holiday would have to be cancelled. Staycation for us this year. If Paddy was here, he'd say staycation means stay at home vacation. Maybe he's right. No Italy for us. We love it there. Love the... I'm getting weepy thinking about it. Let's do Italy here. Paddy was excited. The full experience. We stocked up on Italian cheeses, wine, Parma ham, and Aperol for the spritz. Or is it spritzes? Anything Italian we could think of. Aperol spritz is an aperitif. You must try it. Very Italian to have one before dinner. It opens up the taste buds. Paddy tells everyone when we return home with a bottle for our friends. God, I miss seeing our friends. It's this virus thing. Paddy still meets people. He goes out to work. I work from home. Meet no one. Fancy, isn't it? I love my wine glass. My many wine glasses. One for white wine, another for Cab Sauv, balloon glass for Merlot. You get the picture. I don't bother anymore. A lot of old nonsense, a bit snobby. Tastes the same. So, for 2 weeks, we were in Italy, Italia, and it's in our heads, and it was lovely. It was 4 weeks really, but who's counting? So, an aperitif before dinner, or maybe 2, a lovely Chianti with the pasta, and a digestivo afterwards, or maybe 2. He's turned into such a dry balls. Sorry, how about we miss the port for one evening? Dry balls. Sherry, my daughter Sherry, can't call anymore. The virus. She works in a nursing home and doesn't visit. She used to at the beginning of lockdown, even though she lives 6 miles away. That's 10 kilometers, but I still think in miles. The 5-kilometer rule didn't stop her then. Something has changed. We were great pals. More like sisters than mother and daughter. She met a lovely man, Scotch. Is that how you describe him? Is a man from Scotland Scotch? Don't see much of him here lately either. Who I really miss is my granddaughter. You think you love your children? Wait till you meet your grandchildren. Nan, she calls me. Granny is what she calls his mother in Aberdeen. I'd hate to be a granny. She'd run up to me, Nan, and hug me and squeeze me like she wanted to convince me or something. She'd run around the house shouting and screaming and playing and hiding and... Hey. Sherry gave out her denials and mess, but I know she loved to watch us. I might as well have had 2 girls, she'd say. That was before this virus thing. I had more energy then, it seems. I'm not able now, especially after dinner, and especially after our Italian dinners. Nan, you smell funny, she said to me one evening. I was thrown on the couch, and okay, maybe I didn't shower that day. Bit of a headache when I woke up. I'm working from home. Why bother? Eddie still sees him, of course, on his way home from work. I suppose he's tested all the time at his work. That's why it's safe for him to call. They're protecting me, I suppose. Sherry was a good daughter. Teetotaler. Gives me funny looks if I have a glass or 2. Another tripods. Like her father. No, I didn't mean that. We get on great. I used to. This bloody virus. We have to mind you, Mum. We don't want you to be a COVID casualty. I won't be a COVID casualty. I'll get through this. I've just been on the best date with the person I'm going to marry. They don't know it yet, but someday. It was our first date, but the heart wants what the heart wants. When I say date, I don't mean we went to a restaurant. Hello, lockdown. No starched white tablecloth, no linen napkins, no soft music or candlelight. We were in the canteen at the hospital. I'm a nurse. Duh. My date was a doctor. I know, cliché. FYI, before you get on to Neffet, we are in a work bubble. We work together, eat together, sleep together. Not that sleep, though I wouldn't mind. A girl can dream. My doctor, my date if you like, joined our Covid ward 6 months ago. It was love at first sight. Well, a physical attraction at first. And who could blame me? Athletic build, close cropped hair, blue eyes, strong jawline, bulges in all the right places. Need I go on? With the PPE, the only non-verbal communication we have with anyone is with the eyes. But this was more intense. For instance, yesterday we had this 87-year-old female who was not responding to the cocktail of treatment. A decision was needed. We looked at each other. No words were exchanged. The eyes said it all. Nurse, would you agree that this patient needs to go to ICU? Yes, doctor, it's her only chance. You do know that there is a dire shortage of ICU beds? Yes, doctor. Can I justify tying up a bed for 14 to 21 days when there is no guarantee of success? Her age is against her, doctor, but other patients of a similar age have pulled through. Agreed, nurse. But if in 5 days a 30-year-old mother of 2 is in a car accident and after life-saving surgery we discover we have no ICU bed for her? That possibility exists, doctor. But if in 5 days the numbers start to come down and beds free up... Thank you, nurse. I'll think about it. But doctor, you need to decide now. I know. Then words take over. Thank you, nurse. Who's our next patient? Take a look around, doctor. There are 26 patients. Take your pick. I said it to Siobhan, my friend and fellow colleague Siobhan, that I was falling for our overworked, yet graceful under pressure doctor. God, girl, she said, everyone can see that. You're not exactly disguising your lust. Look, June, she said, it's not my place to say, but are you sure? We're working in extreme environment, like a war zone or a hostage situation. And adrenaline is high, and feelings can be confusing, and... Anyway, back to our date. Normally, 6 of us go to dinner together, but as we are so understaffed, it was just the doc and I. We joined the queue for the buffet. I had lasagna. The good doctor had the salad. That body isn't all genetics. We had 2 glasses of milk. I had to forego my usual Coke for appearance's sake. We sat at a formica-topped table with our paper plates and plastic disposable knives and forks, and it was wonderful. We took off our masks. It's hard to eat with them on. How can one person be so beautiful? We ate in silence. Finally, with the mouth still battling with an overcooked layer of pasta, I grasped the nettle. Doctor, I think I'm in love with you. You think you're in love with me? Doctor, I know I'm in love with you. Well, in that case, you might want to dispense with doctor and call me Terry. I might just do that. Terry, and I will call you June, if that's acceptable to you. Why, of course, Doc. Terry. Our eyes talked for a while. Then it struck me. My God, Terry and June. We sound like an English sitcom, like George and Mildred. There was an old comedy called Terry and June, if memory serves me right, said the very knowledgeable doctor. That's what they'll call us, I said. Terry and June. She leaned over the table and kissed me. I hope so, she said. I hope so. We only had 8 deaths today. A good day. Tell you what happened to me. I was never so embarrassed in my life. After lockdown was over. Well, it wasn't over really, but you know what I mean. I arranged to meet my best friend for coffee. When I say best friend, I mean in the sense my best friend at the time, seeing as she was available to meet me and neither of us had COVID at the time. But that's another story. So, we met outside Insomnia. We both had our masks on. We wore our masks to show how responsible and mature we are. Mom never wears hers unless she has to, in case people think she's alternative or hippyish, or making a statement about the spread of the virus. Back to my story. Sorry. I tend to stray off the point. Something enters my mind and I run with that and I forget what I'm supposed to. There I go again. We meet outside the coffee shop and go in. Did I mention we were wearing our masks? Yes, I did. We sit in order and catch up on all the crack, just like old times. Except it wasn't. It was stiff and stilted and... The coffee arrived. I had a skinny latte with a white chocolate and raspberry muffin, and Grania had an Americano with scone, butter, strawberry jam and cream. We took our masks off. Well, you can't very well eat a white chocolate and raspberry muffin, nor a scone with jam and cream, let alone drink coffee with your masks on. Now can you? We took our masks off, and across the room, a woman jumped up, knocking over her hot chocolate, spilling its creamy contents and multicoloured marshmallows across the table. Everyone in the place stopped what they were doing and stared at her. She began to mutter something like, "It can't be her, it can't. It's not her, it's not." No, I must admit, I had noticed her when we first entered the establishment. She had been staring at me. I thought she must have known me, but wasn't sure because of the mask. I didn't know her at all. I had just taken off my mask when she began her impersonation of a crazy woman. And then, this is where it gets embarrassing. She started to come over to me. She was muttering something like, "It can't be her, it can't be. It's not her, it's not." Like I said, crazy. As she got nearer, it became obvious to all and sundry that I was the focus of her ranting. All eyes and ears in the building were now not on her as I previously described, but on me. Me! The mother and daughter, who up to this point had been playing a game, where the mother was hip enough to discuss her teenage daughter's budding sex life, and the daughter was pretending not to be uncomfortable, not in the least, though her red face had turned crimson, ceased all activities to watch the welcome distraction. Two middle-aged men who decided to have a chat over coffee, seeing as the pubs are still closed, and were now regretting this Parisian-style tete-to-tete, and was wondering why it is easier to talk over a creamy pint on uncomfortable high stools in a noisy bar than in the comfort of a coffee shop, forgot the punchline to their stories in favour of my dilemma. The married couple who discreetly, well, not so discreetly, were arguing about the attention he was paying the receptionist at his office. I didn't catch where. And the lack of attention to her, the wife, not the receptionist, and her, the wife's, needs. The boyfriend she once had, who moved back to their village and had warmly said hello and smiled at her, a smile full of promise. Forgot their heated, hushed, frantic, whispered debacle to gawk at me and my growing embarrassment. Back to the crazed madwoman, who at this stage had now broken the 2-meter rule and was about to hug me, her two long arms outstretched in the hope that I would reciprocate. I held her off, only for her to duck under my defensive hands and grab my knees. And as she lay her head in my lap, she added to my confusion and to the delight and entertainment of all who witnessed this spectacle. All that is, except my friend, who didn't snigger or in any way seem to enjoy my discomfort. Not like I would have enjoyed hers if the situation had been reversed. Sorry. She laid her head on my lap and cried out, "My daughter, my long-lost daughter, you have come back to me. Where have you been all these years?" I was struck dumbfounded. I tried to get away. She grabbed onto my leg. I pulled away. She pulled my leg back. The more I tried to free myself, the more she pulled my leg. She kept pulling my leg. Just like I'm pulling yours. Gotcha. I know I'm supposed to have something interesting to say, but nothing is happening. That's why I made up that stupid story. I just finished my first-year college exams. My classes were online. I sat here with my laptop, did all my study in this room. I only went downstairs to eat and that's it. Exciting, isn't it? I'm still stuck in this room. Nothing is happening. I suppose I could go outside for a walk, but what's the point? My first year in college, which I was so looking forward to, was boring. That's right, boring. Not like the other women in my family. My sister met her best friend in college. Her friend was an avid scuba diver, and now my sister dives for sunken treasure in the Caribbean. My aunt is tipped to be the first female Taoiseach because she joined the Students' Union at college. My mother met my father in the debating society at, yes, you guessed it, college. They argued over everything until they discovered all they had in common. My grandmother just retired from a long and satisfying acting career, which she says, when asked, began when she joined the Theatrical Society at college. This virus. Dying is not the only way a life is stolen. Hello. My name is... Well, never mind. That's not important either. Who cares about age? This is my story. I'm alone now. The Lord, in his mysterious ways, called Tom, my husband Tom, to his eternal reward. We weren't blessed with the family, and so for a few years now, I'm alone in this world. But that's not my story. That's many people's stories. And I want to tell you my story. After the good Lord called Tom from me, I got a job as a school's crossing patrol guard, or lollipop lady if you like. I did this to get out more on the advice of my friends. Well, not exactly friends. I don't have any of them. But my grief counsellor said, it was great being a lollipop lady. I loved the children, even the grumpy ones, and twice a day there was a smile on my face. Not just the children, some of the parents said hello and exchanged pleasantries. And this lovely, kind, charming gentleman. I know, lots of people get happiness out of the little things in life. But that's not the story I want to tell you. This is my story. When the lockdown came, the first lockdown, and schools were closed, well, you know where I'm going with this. It was hard on me. Sitting at home, cocooning, alone. Oh, the boys from the GAA dropped off bags of turf and boxes of groceries, and the postman brought my paper in the morning, and concerned volunteers inquired after my physical and mental health and all that. But I was alone. A short reprise when the schools reopened, but it wasn't the same. It's hard to smile and connect with a 5-year-old through a mask and a 2-metre no man's land. This last lockdown is different too. Maybe it's the talk of a new vaccine with its promise of an end in sight. Or maybe community spirit is exhaustible after all. That's another story for another day. Okay. This last lockdown, or lock up as I like to call it, made me do something I've put off for almost 60 years. Remember I said Tom and I had no children? Well, that part is through, but I had a baby boy before I married, when I was very young. No new story there. Listen to Joe Duffy or Prime Time. I met a boy, got pregnant, got kicked out of home, was sent into one of them places, had my baby taken from me and then adopted. I have all the papers here, the committal papers, the birth certificate, the social worker's evaluation that I wasn't capable of raising a child. That was after a 2-hour interview. How can you assess anyone in 2 hours? A matron's report that, in spite of advice, attachment to the newborn would only make separation harder. I screamed and screamed till they placed my baby boy in my arms. A black mark against me in her mind. I've lived a lifetime with that memory. My baby and me snuggled together. The story of a generation of Irish women. Not the story I'm about to tell you. You'll be glad to hear. My story is this. I contacted the adoption agency, finally, after almost 60 years. Long story short, my son had a request in for over 30 years himself. Several requests. All those wasted years. He wrote to me, I wrote to him. He rang me, I rang him. Turns out I'm a grandmother, a great-grandmother in fact. His eldest has a girl. And so, for the first time in my life, I'm about to break the law. I'm having someone from another household over for a visit. I don't That should be him now. Wish me luck. I work hard. One might say I'm obsessed with work. Maybe I am. But one has to earn a living. I believe if one is to do something, one should do it well. I have a thriving business. Well, I had up until this pandemic, but more on that later. When I started out in this business, I was young and naive with so much to learn. This man took me under his wing and became my business manager. I did all the work and he took 30%. He did nothing for me that I could not do on my own, so I left him. Oh, he tried to stop me, threatened me with all sorts. He said we had a verbal agreement. We all knew a verbal agreement is not worth the paper it's written on. He even suggested that physical harm may befall me, but he didn't countenance on 3 things. 1, I will not allow myself to be bullied. 2, I do not suffer fools lightly. And 3, that I had built up considerable cash reserves in the few years we had worked together. I then used some of the aforementioned cash reserve to hire a minder, if you like. Kind of like that movie with Denzel Washington, The Equalizer. I love Denzel Washington. My equalizer may have got a tad overzealous, and I never meant for it to happen, but Let's just say an ambulance and paramedics were involved. I dropped into the emergency room to see for myself. At my first visit to that particular A&E, but more on that later. I visited him in the hospital, with my 6'8" minder in tow, of course, and formalized the dissolution of our working arrangement. No charges were ever pressed. Going into that emergency department brought back memories, sad memories of the time, a few years prior to this, that I was beaten, badly beaten, by a would-be client. He didn't want to do business. He just wanted a soft target to vent his fury and his fists. The doctor said I was lucky. Broken nose, cracked cheekbone, 3 missing teeth, and a scar up here. If that's lucky, then that's why I wear my hair long. I was like Julia Roberts in that movie, Sleeping with the Enemy. You know, the one where she's terrified of her husband. I love Julia Roberts. She's great. She was wonderful and pretty woman. My former business manager set up the meeting. I swear he knew what was to befall me, which is another reason I no longer required his services. After that, I concentrated on growing the business, and boy did it grow. Then, as you probably guessed, this coronavirus hit and things began to unravel. Not so much in the first lockdown. Demand for my services remained high, and with a few minor adjustments, it was business as usual. You see, I do not have what one would call a place of work. Neither do I call to my clients' place of work nor their residence. I prefer neutral ground, such as a hotel. When the hotels closed in the first lockdown, I leased an apartment. Justifiable expense, centrally located, of course, and met my clients there. However, demand did drop, and one cannot go out onto the street to drum up business. Well, I guess one could. Some of my competitors do just that, but it's not for me. Other competitors work from home. They always have had. They offer their services over the phone. I think this is so impersonal. I like the personal contact. I like to be in the room with my clients when we are doing business. Hence the fall off in demand. The 2-meter rule, you see. This might be my chance to get out of this business. Career change, so to speak. I still have bills to pay. The lease for that apartment has 6 more months to run, and a girl needs to eat. So I applied for the PUP, the Pandemic Unemployment Payment. However, it appears one must be in the tax system to qualify. Now I have the authorities asking questions about my personal finances and past earnings, etc., etc. Never mind. I can deal with all that. This is about the other pup. Yes, I got a pup. He's adorable. I never knew I wanted a pup until I got one. It all began when I took up walking in the park. There is literally nothing else to do. So I go for a walk in the local park each day. And each day I have bumped into this lovely man and his dog, Prince. The dog is named Prince, but the man is a prince. I play with Prince anytime we meet. I suppose the psychoanalyst would suggest that I am transferring my feelings for the man onto the dog. Over the weeks we have, I do not know what one would call it, but we have connected. We've never been on a date, had coffee together, seen a movie, held hands or kissed. We've never got closer than 2 meters. Although, the other day I got the impression that he was about to move up close. I would have been all right with that, and angled my body into a more inviting position. Instead of inviting him, however, I invited the dog. So I fondled the dog. Transference? We've never even met outside the park, yet something is there. He got me a little puppy, a Portuguese podingo, that I have named Tiffany. Why call her Tiffany, one may ask? I love that movie, Breakfast at Tiffany's. And she sings Moon River and that crazy party scene. But I especially love the final scene. It's pouring down rain, and Holly is searching for Cat in the alley. I cry each time I hear her call out for her cat in the rain. Cat! Cat! Oh, Cat. As if the cat can save her. One could say I see myself as a modern Holly-go-likely. Perhaps